I like to grow vegetables, but there are a few reasons why I've given up on propagating my own seeds. These days, I just buy my tomato, cucumber, and pepper plants from the garden store. The biggest reason is probably that Coco, one of our cats, has a tendency to dig up seedlings and scatter them around the house. But the other reason is that if you're starting seeds inside, it's not as simple as just sticking them in soil and giving them water and light. They also have to experience a more controlled taste of adversity than Coco gives them. In order to grow healthy and strong, they have to be tested, but appropriately, and not by a cat who will dig them up and carry them around the house. People who propagate seeds know that it's not as simple as just sticking the seeds in some soil, watering them, and waiting. In order to be strong enough to withstand being planted outside, the seedlings have to experience wind. Without it, their stems will develop quickly but weakly. And once the seedlings are transplanted outside, they will break and wither in the inevitable wind and rain. So people who raise good seedlings make sure they experience a breeze from the fan, but not the jaws and paws of a playful cat. When the seedlings experience a breeze, their stems and root systems will grow stronger. They will only respond to the stimuli they are given. So if they aren't tested by the wind, they will be too weak to succeed. In the same way, a baby bird has to crack itself out of its shell in order to survive. During the hatching process, a hatchling absorbs the rest of the yolk and learns to use its lungs and muscles. If you were witnessing a bird struggling to hatch, you might be inclined to help it by taking away pieces of the cracked egg, but interfering actually weakens the baby bird and makes it less likely to survive. In my own life, sometimes I'd rather stay protected or have someone help me out instead of having to do a big job by myself. But from minor home repairs to going for a run on a windy 26-degree morning to, yes, writing my very own imperfect sermons, these are things that, while sometimes enjoyable and sometimes annoying, contribute to my continued development as a human being. Today, we meet Jesus in the wilderness just after his baptism in the Jordan River. He has been preparing here in this wild place, surrounded by animals and plants and away from other people, getting ready for his ministry among God's beloveds. And it is here that he is tested. This story is in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and they all tell us that it's the devil or Satan who tests Jesus. Far from a red gremlin with a forked tail, horns, and a pitchfork, which is actually just an amalgamation of symbols from Roman and Greek pantheistic religions, a Satan in the Hebrew tradition is not just one being, but rather one of many adversaries. A Satan is a tester. Or according to one commentary I read, a Satan is like God's building inspector, checking everything out and making sure it works right. Any student knows that tests aren't exactly fun, but without them, how do you know you're capable? How do you know you're ready? How do you know you've really learned the material? Because if things aren't tested, how do we know if they're good? You don't want to find out, for instance, after a second-story floor has been laden with fossils that it's not strong enough to hold them, right? So Jesus has been out in the wilderness, minding his own business and refraining from eating for 40 days. Fasting, when done well, is a reminder of our dependence on God. In a society where food is so abundant, where excess is so constant, being truly hungry reminds us that we depend on God for everything, and also reminds us of our connection to our fellow humans who hunger not by choice, but by circumstance. So when God's building inspector rocks up and asks Jesus whether he'd like to break the fast that he has undertaken specifically to remind him of his humanity and his dependence on God, on whom he will rely so deeply in the time that's coming, of course, Jesus says no. When the adversary offers Jesus unimaginable power, he again refuses. Of course, God could have chosen to come and live a fully human life, but with power, as a prince perhaps, or at least as a Roman citizen. But God, wanting to truly share our lives with us, became incarnate as a poor Jewish carpenter. Perhaps God's building inspector is asking Jesus whether it was a mistake to take on so much vulnerability. Would he like to give that up now? And Jesus says no. In just a few weeks, we'll be talking about how he flipped the tables of power rather than choosing to build them himself. And then, when the adversary challenges Jesus to do a magic trick and prove he can defy physics, Jesus again refuses. He is fully human and steadfast in his commitment to use his power to help others and not to enrich himself or perform. After all, his vocation will be completed not by defying gravity, but by denying death itself. Jesus' entry into ministry begins with the affirmation he receives from God at his baptism, before he has done anything to deserve it. You are my beloved child with whom I am well pleased. And now, strengthened by his time in the wilderness and tested by the adversary, he returns to the people he will heal and teach and minister to. The beautiful through line in all of the Gospels is how God could have chosen to remain aloof and separated, but instead chose to come and be with us, to live a vulnerable human life here on this earth, to experience all of life's joys and challenges. In Jesus' temptation in the wilderness, we see the depths God is willing to go to in order to feel what it's like to be human, to acknowledge the boundary between humanity and God, and to refuse to use his own power to enrich himself. He knew that if he caved to such temptation, he would lose his ability to connect with our own human experience. And in resisting that temptation, he showed us that there is nothing we can experience that God cannot share. Any musician or athlete knows that progress comes in drilling skills, a task that is often not super fun, but that nonetheless makes us stronger. Pablo Casals, one of the most famous cellists of the 20th century, was once asked why he still practiced 4 or 5 hours a day at age 80. "Because I think I am making progress," he replied. May our time in this Lenten wilderness help us to make our own progress, training us to be more resilient, strengthened in the knowledge that we are beloved by the God who provides for our needs, finding ways to speak truth to power that all too often corrupts, living into the fullness of our humanity, and remembering that there is nothing we can experience that God cannot understand. The wilderness is a difficult place to be, but it's where we meet God. Tests aren't exactly fun, but they're a part of life. Jesus meets us in the wilderness where we are and stands with us, showing us how to live into the fullness of our humanity as fellow image bearers of God. Amen.